following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AEW Dynamite review here on the WZWA Network. I am one of your hosts, Karlifornia Joose, alongside my esteemed co-host, the one and only Juicy Boy Daniel Johnston. How are you, my friend?
I am very well, California. It has been about an hour since our watch through of Dynamite wrapped, and a lot to talk about here tonight.
That's it, bro. I really enjoyed the show. We're going to get right into it. Right from the get-go here, as usual, DJ. No small talk. I love the hot open of the show. JR is excited. The fireworks go off. We have highlights of Punk from Rampage. Everyone's very excited. How are you feeling as the show opens, DJ? This is week 5 now. This is the 5th week that we have reviewed Dynamite. How are you feeling as the show is opening? Do you kind of feel like excited about what's about to take place? Or are you still kind of bit of trepidation with AEW?
I think that, there's probably still a tiny bit of trepidation, but I think, also learning who the characters are, learning how the show flows from week to week has allowed me to actually get a bit invested in the people in AEW. And I find myself looking forward to each AEW episode a little bit more each week than I did previously. So at this point, I'd say, I'm actually becoming a little bit of a fan. There are still a number of things I have issues with, but I can say the same about WWE as well. So, I mean, it's pretty even as far as that goes. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's nice to know. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that from the outset here, because I thought, 5 weeks in, we should address that, because when we went into this, we weren't exactly the biggest fans of the company.
Well, I think that's kind of been the whole point of the review series, is that we're kind of coming at it from a skeptical point of view. But I want to know what you think then 5 weeks on. Let's take a minute here.
Well, I'm in comparison to WWE, I would not watch Raw or SmackDown at the moment. That's just not for me. It's too PG and too simple. So that comparison already been made. I've just found over the 5 weeks so far, there've been ups, there've been downs, there've been peaks and valleys. And I found it interesting that in a recent interview, Jim Ross, or maybe on his podcast, he was talking about how AEW really seems to have really caught fire over the last month or so. So I think we've kind of come in at the right time here to really give this a chance. I wouldn't say I'm 100% a big fanboy or anything. That's going to take a while to get me there. But I'm interested to watch the show every week. Let's just say that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a marked progression where when we tried to find things we liked about AEW before, but it was always a bit of a chore, thinking we've got to watch the AEW show. What stupid shit are they going to do? I think that, the product has definitely begun to mature, and it's at a point now where we can sort of allow ourselves to start getting more invested in what the show has to offer.
Yeah, and I think the more, we'll get into it, but the more experienced people that have been there, done that, come into the company, I feel like the more the show starts to become fine-tuned. So, okay, we have the hot open. First match on the show. Gonna get your thoughts, bro. Orange Cassidy taking on Matt Hardy. Take it away.
All right. So, I actually, after we wrapped watching, I happened to hear a little bit of another review of the same show, and that person did not really care for this match. And I have to say, I have no idea what they were talking about. This match was fairly basic. It stuck a lot to fundamentals, but that is one of the reasons why it was so good. I really enjoyed this match. Orange Cassidy is definitely, as time goes along, he is slowly learning and maturing as a talent. We'll get to it. I'll let you handle the finish of the match, but as we'll see from there, he is still a little bit green. But that is why having these more experienced ex-WWE guys, as a lot of people derisively call them, on the show actually helps, because Matt Hardy has that experience of being on TV for all those years and getting his timing right and getting his cues right and everything like that. And he knows how to condense, using the time that he has, have a condensed match that sort of still tells an entertaining story, but doesn't fucking go off the rails. And I definitely think that, while this match wasn't the most flashy or the most action-packed, it was a very solid match. And I think that Orange Cassidy, as a performer, probably learned a few things coming out of this thing. Carl, what did you... Oh, I'm sorry. Before I move on to you, I'm going to give this match a C-. I thought it was pretty decent, possible, good little match. And I think that a lot of that can be credited to Matt Hardy. So over to you.
Yep. I didn't really enjoy the opening spot, but okay, it's okay.
Which just go into what that was, though, in case people.
Well, it's the kicks to the shins and the delete stuff. I don't know. It's just you're about to fight each other. I'm still not sold on this like comedy spot with Orange Cassidy. It's funny sometimes, but other times I'm not sure about it. But anyway, we mentioned this when we were watching the show together. There's always a difference in the matches when an experienced guy is in there, like Christian last week or the week before, and Hardy this week. It feels like the matches are more solid with the fundamentals, and you can't tell that they're just going from spot to spot to spot to spot. Yeah. And so they
look a bit more organic.
That's it. Yeah, it looks like more like a real fucking actual professional wrestling contest. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. They really did get me with the false finish on the Twist of Fate from Orange Cassidy. I thought that was cool. And fucking Matt Hardy's nose getting busted wide open. Right. That was pretty hectic, and added an element of excitement to the match when Orange, I guess it was the crossbody off the top rope onto Matt Hardy.
He landed right on Matt Hardy's face.
Yeah, so mistakes happen, that's okay. Yeah. But yeah, we were really into it, and I really liked the false finish. They got me. I thought he was going to beat him with the Twist of Fate, but then they had this fucking lame finish.
Oh yeah.
When he rolls him up and he puts his hands in his pockets, I guess for leverage. I just kind of felt like it kind of took away everything they built up. It was
slow. What it was like, this took the match from a B down to a C for me, because so yeah, Orange Cassidy basically won with a quick roll up, but moments before he actually executed the roll up, he took a beat where he was just kind of standing there, and theoretically a wrestler as experienced as Matt Hardy could have kicked his legs out and thrown Orange Cassidy off of him in that moment where Orange Cassidy appeared to be hesitating. And that took away the impact of the finish. It was clearly supposed to be a quick, Orange Cassidy catches one on him. 1 or 2 seconds may not seem like a big deal, but it can be a lifetime in the closing moments of a match.
Absolutely, bro.
That's what it comes down to. It just comes down to 3 seconds, 3 taps to the mat. And so in those final spots, those final sequences going into a finish and the finish itself, timing is crucial. And that took me out of this match.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch between the two of them later down the line, maybe with a bit of a stipulation or something. But anyway, moving on, Malakai Black with another great little promo. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, this was fantastic. I mean, I think, once again, I'll say what I said last week. This is what Aleister Black could have and should have been in WWE. And this is an example of what WWE does badly. And I hate to keep harping on the comparison between WWE and AEW, but how many talents have we seen come over from WWE where even if we're not big fans of them, my God, they're actually allowed to talk. You actually see them standing in front of a microphone. You kind of know who this person is, where they're coming from. You're not relying on whatever lines Michael Cole gets fed into the headset to try to find out the story about who this person is and what their goals in the company are. And yeah, so once again, second straight week in a row, you've got Malakai Black sitting backstage, hell of a promo. He mentioned that he was giving Brock Anderson a chance to forfeit the match, get himself counted out, a show of mercy. And he warned that if Brock Anderson did not accept that show of mercy, he would pay for it. This was a great little promo, Carl.
Yeah, excellent. Great way to build up the main event later on. And I was going to say this later, but, you know, it's only taken like, a month. And I actually give more of a shit about the guy than 2 years he was in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I knew nothing about him. He looked cool. That was it. Like there was again that, and we should really stop making the comparisons, but you know, I think it's important to, because shit, man, like you have someone like that who is delivering this great stuff every week and they just wasted him over there. You know, that they could have made a lot of money off him, and their loss is AEW's gain. So the next segment, Jericho comes out to talk about his future. I'll take this one away. The sing-along. Look, I know that a lot of people enjoy it, and, you know, maybe I shouldn't be such a grumpy bum about things in wrestling, but it's getting a little old for me now. You know, and I'm not saying he should change his theme song, but it's just like, fuck, every time we're going to go through this. I don't know why I don't like it. It just irritates me. But anyway, he makes the big challenge to MJF, you know, talking about his obsession of beating him finally. The challenge is laid out for All Out, where if he loses, his wrestling career will be over and he will go to the commentary table. I think Jericho's still got a couple more years left in the tank. So we'll see where that goes. MJF comes out. Love the shirt, 3-0. It was a bit of homage to Jericho's feud with Goldberg in WCW, where he kept on saying that he was, you know, 2-0, 3-0 against Greenberg. So I thought that was a nice touch. And of course, MJF cuts a really great promo. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, what a great start to the show. DJ, what did you think?
Yeah, so look, I haven't been a giant Jericho fan since the whole New Japan / AEW era. In some ways, it's because of what he's done on, you know, as a talent. In some ways, it's because of shit that he's done outside of the wrestling business, done and said. We won't go into it here. This promo right here, the Nick Gage match a few weeks ago, and this promo right here has brought back some of my fandom for Chris Jericho. I was not really that excited about a Jericho promo segment going into this, but I was wrong on that. You know, this turned out to be a great promo. I hope the people backstage there were taking notes, the way that he used pitch and timing and the way that he paced himself and the times where he made the choice to look into the camera or look out into the audience. All these things make the difference between an average promo and a great promo, which is something that MJF, for a guy his age, has already picked up. This was a brilliant promo segment. I really enjoyed this. The MJF 3 Jerablo 0 shirt was great. MJF looked great. Just like I said last week, he carries himself well. These were two professionals in there that know the importance of cutting a good promo. And, you know, it got me invested in seeing this match at All Out.
Yeah. You know, one other thing I wanted to mention, you know, kind of feels like we have these stables, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the Inner Circle, we have the Pinnacle, but it just feels like you never really see them all together very often. So I don't know. I know FTR are out at the moment until next week, obviously with the injury, but I don't know. I just kind of feel like when there's stables, you want to see the stables together, and keep that, you know, every week you always saw the Horsemen together. Every week you always saw the NWO together. You always saw DX together. You know, even in some sort of backstage setting. I don't know. I just think some of these things need to be remembered because they are brands within their brands that, you know, they're trying to sell T-shirts and keep that brand strong. But anyway,
like human beings are naturally kind of very cliquish creatures. You know, they like the idea of having a group to attach themselves to. And if all of us as wrestling fans all collectively are a part of this big subculture that is wrestling fandom and the wrestling business, then within that, just the same as within sports or anything else, you've got these subcultures within wrestling that which are represented through factions and things like that that fans can really attach themselves to. And I agree. If you're going to have so many factions, then actually have these groups function as factions within the context of the show. Have them be in multi-man matches. Show them traveling together. Show them in backstage segments.
Yeah.
If there's a different segment happening backstage, why can't they be in the background? You never see, you know, you always see them together because they're in the same stable. And you know, a little bit more of that unity so that people are like, okay, these are actually teams and there's a reason that they're teams. You know, not just like, oh, these people are arbitrarily put together for the sake of it because there's nothing else to do with them. So yeah, I'd have to say I fully agree.
Yeah, I just think, you know, again, as I've iterated over the last few weeks, they have an arena to work with. They can shoot 20 seconds here, 20 seconds there during the day to splice in throughout the show. Just the Pinnacle in their locker room or something like that, you know, talking a bit of shit about Jericho. I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but just 20 seconds here, 15 seconds there. They arrive to the building in the limousine. There's just little things you can do, you know, and instead of having some of these guys just not even on the show for weeks at a time unless it necessitates it with a multi-man match. But anyway, moving forward, finally, dude, the Death Triangle are wrestling. They're finally in a fucking match.
Wow.
It's been fucking, it's the fifth week now. They're finally in a match, and it's in this tag team eliminator tournament to find new number one contenders for the Bucks. So it's the Death Triangle taking on the Varsity Blondes. DJ, take it away.
Yeah, so Varsity Blondes had a good little promo before this in the locker room where they, and I actually really, this was a small, almost a throwaway promo before the match, but they talked about the concept that they're a family and, you know, and that family bond is strong and how they're a unit. That is how you present teams and factions on your show, by having them there. And he cut a little promo. They talked about how important it was for them to win this match, go on to the finals of the tournament to face the Young Bucks in the cage. Boom, I'm invested in the Varsity Blondes just from stuff like that. It can't be overlooked how important that kind of thing is in getting the audience invested with talents. Anyway, on to the match itself. I thought this was a technically proficient match. There were one or two things which broke the suspension of disbelief here and there. I put that down to the experience level of all four of these guys. Overall, like, I thought this was a really entertaining match. Like, this was hot. The crowd seemed pretty into this. I thought the Varsity Blondes both looked great. Death Triangle looked great. Yeah, I'd give this match a B+. This was a really good match, other than the couple of little botches that I'm sure that you'll cover. Yeah, I definitely think that the right team won, though. And I think that it's going to make for an interesting finals to the tournament when we get there.
Yeah. As the match kind of began, Jurassic Express were in the crowd. If Jungle Boy is going to be in civilian clothes, then, you know, I don't understand why Luchasaurus would be standing out there without a shirt on.
Consistency.
Yeah. So the Young Bucks come out. Wasn't offended by it. Thankfully, they didn't do anything that annoyed me. The spot that drives me crazy, and I brought this up to you as we were watching it. Love Brian Pillman Jr. Think he's a fantastic performer. Think he's got a really bright future ahead of him, but he has one of the guys against the ropes, gives him a chop, turns his back to him, and then runs the other way to go off the ropes. And I think he ended up getting forearmed or cut off or something like that. But it's this spot that some of these guys do that just drives me up the wall, turning their back on their opponent and then sprinting to go off the ropes all the way the other side of the ring. It's always been something that's like a pet peeve of mine. Let's call it that. So we get our first commercial break of the show. Right out of the commercial break, we get our first botch of the match, which kind of made me go, fuck me, Dad. The match was okay, just a little overly spotty. You can see that they've got spots that they need to go to, and it's not like the Hardy Orange Cassidy match, which came across more organic as a wrestling contest. You could see that there were spots that needed to be done, and some people might have been slightly mistiming things or slightly out of place. But, you know, I guess that they're all young guys and they'll get better. But I think like you can just see the difference here when you don't have a veteran in there or a veteran team in there. These things kind of happen. Again, the super kicks too much. We already get that with the Young Bucks. They got to think of something else there. And it was a good finishing move that won the match, that double team pile driver. But I'm sorry, I felt it was a disjointed kind of match, and I expected a bit better, as well as some kind of Andrade interaction. And I'll get to that after this little bit here, after the match. Jurassic Express get in the ring. They are, wishing the other team luck for the next contest that they have in this tournament. The Young Bucks come in, try to start some heat by shoving them into the Death Triangle. They kind of calm things down with one another, which leads to this very phony-looking interaction with the dives out to the Young Bucks. And it just, again, I know that they were trying to do here, but it came across phony. What did you think of that bit?
Yeah, I agree. This little bit after the match, I feel like this is again another example that they overdo it with the post-match run-ins and the post-match beatdowns and stuff like that. Look, WWE doesn't have enough of that kind of stuff, like surprise attacks and spontaneous seeming stuff like that. AEW is overdoing it too much. This didn't need that. This did not need that. I am quite happy for the Bucks not to interact with any of the teams until they actually get to the cage match at the pay-per-view. Thank you.
And this is what I wanted to get to. This has been like the one thing that's like aggravated me over the last 5 weeks. The Pac Andrade story continues with yet no further actual storytelling, no actual progression in the story. Things actually happen or happening. This is 5 weeks, 7 episodes of television so far, where the story, as we've already said, didn't make sense in the first place, still doesn't make sense now, and it's all about these two having this matchup against each other for the first time. I'm not invested in this fight between these two that's coming up. Something needs to happen. They still have a few weeks. I want to throw it out there to AEW right now, who are definitely not watching this review show, but I want to throw it out there. Come up with something, impress me, do something, and I will eat a slice of humble pie, bro. Okay.
Look, I'd have to agree. It's like, I'm sure the match itself in ring will be spectacular. You know, sure. There's no doubt about that. Where, you know, this is going to be a high spot, high flying, you know, crazy action-packed match, and there needs to be one of those on each show, and I'm excited for that to be this. But in terms of the actual story, why should I give a shit? I don't give a shit really who wins. I'm excited to see some entertaining high-flying moves and some flips and arm drags and shit like that, but I don't really care who wins. It's not making me more excited to see where Andrade or where Pac goes from here. I'm going to go back to not really giving a shit about either one after the match is over, as it stands now. There does definitely need to be some sort of precipitating issue that pushes this thing a bit further along so that there's a bit of heat on it. Otherwise, it's not really, it's going to get lost in the shuffle at such a big pay-per-view. It really is.
Yeah, it will end up being an afterthought. All right. We'll move away from this, but yeah, I just want something to sink my teeth into.
You know, once again, I know we want to try to keep brief and stuff, but I feel like we should touch on these things, man, because that way, you know, it's good to just keep track of how things are evolving as we go along.
Yeah, and I think Fuego del Sol looks like an absolute pussy after I don't know how many weeks ago he gets fucking beaten down backstage. Doesn't want any comeuppance. Doesn't want to at least, you know, get in the ring with Andrade, and we know Andrade is going to win. And yes, I've talked about matches that have foregone conclusions, but in this instance, yes, I would like to see it because I actually want to see Andrade get in the ring and see how it goes.
It's part of storytelling. It's like, okay, everyone knows that Fuego del Sol will lose convincingly to Andrade. However, Fuego del Sol just got a contract, right, awarded to him by his best friend on national TV, and he should, as part of his sort of career trajectory, he needs to have this match at least make an attempt to get some comeuppance back, and then let's see where he goes after this match with Andrade. Otherwise, he still just goes back to being a nobody. Well, why even give him a contract?
Absolutely, bro. Sorry, I had to cough then, but there's more of a pre-existing issue between him and Andrade than there is with Pac Andrade at the moment. Right. So anyway, I'm going to take this one. The women's match, bro. Jamie Hayter against Red Velvet. And I'm not trying to pick on her, all right? But for crying out loud, man, there's no heat on Hayter's entrance. The crowd don't seem to have any support behind Red Velvet when she comes out. This isn't a fault of either of these girls. It's a fault of how they've been portrayed on TV so far. The fans love Britt Baker. They are solidly behind her in everything she does. And so I feel like these babyface ladies on the roster are really fighting from underneath to try and get any sort of support from them. And I think the same is going to happen with Chris Statlander at the pay-per-view. I don't think anyone is, and I'll get to that once we get to the end of this matchup. But, you know, we did have some running suicide cuddles by Red Velvet, which, you know, at least there was some impact on them. But I wrote down next, the women's match is a fucking mess because of the pre-planned spots and they're not hitting it. The timing is off. She's just too green. She's just not ready for television. She probably needs another 100 matches under her belt before she's really ready. You know, and that's just me just throwing a random number out there.
She being Red Velvet?
Yeah, she needs more time. I don't know really much about Jamie, and I couldn't really tell if she was green too because it was already a debacle already because of some of the botches that were taking place. But this was just a bit of a mess. Hayter wins the match, and then I wrote down take Velvet off TV and help her because she's going to end up becoming pigeonholed as a Velvet. Here we go. This is the botch match that's coming up. You know, this is the let's go and have a toilet break match because it's not gonna get people out of their seats. They're not invested in her, and the matches aren't going very well. So there we go. I've said it all for the women's match, and again, I just feel like they haven't given the women's division anything to sink their teeth into. 5 weeks in, I've really not seen anything that really has me invested in anything that's going on. Statlander comes out afterward. The crowd, no reaction, not popping for her whatsoever. I don't know what they're going to do going forward, because I can't see anyone on that roster right now that's going to at least get an equal reaction to Britt Baker, maybe Thunder Rosa, but they've already gone down that road. They need, again, to bring someone else in or think of another challenger that's really going to at least bring it to a 50-50 with the crowd and not just 100% Britt Baker. But anyway, DJ, take it away.
Yeah, so look, I kind of agree with a lot of what you said there. Here's what bothers me the most about the Red Velvet situation. When I watch Red Velvet wrestle, I believe that Red Velvet is passionate about what she's doing.
Yeah.
I believe that she is excited to be there. I believe that she cares about her job. I believe that she is trying her best to attack everything that she's doing and give it her absolute best. And she is being done a disservice by the company by being put on Dynamite in these kind of situations. I don't know if there's a depth problem on the women's roster, but Red Velvet could be a star in the future if you let her wrestle matches away from the pressure and the spotlight of live national TV. She was made to look silly with this botched standing moonsault, which didn't even connect. She was made to look silly on several occasions, just with some of these other spots that she was trying to execute. The crowd was visibly sitting on their hands like this.
Yeah.
The entire time. It was nothing to do with her as far as, listen, she's got a great look. She's an attractive girl. She's fit. She's got decent ring gear. She understands that she's got to try to connect with the crowd and that she has to have a big personality. She understands that, but she's never going to be able to put all those pieces together if she keeps being stuck on national TV to make all of her mistakes. She needs to be taken off of Dynamite and left on Dark or Elevation or Dark matches so that she can get experience in ring. And as far as Jamie Hayter, all I'll say is this, nothing against her, but imagine if Camille was going to be Britt Baker's bodyguard.
Yeah, then it would be.
Do you think that you would care more about Britt's bodyguard if it was somebody like Camille?
Way more, bro, because I kind of feel like the girl that is already with Britt Baker, despite having the crutch at ringside, I feel like she could probably, give Jamie Hayter a bit of a run for her money. So I don't know why she's this big insurance policy. You're completely right there. Camille would be a perfect person to bring in to be. And
also, I want to say this. I want to actually one more thing before I forget. Having Britt Baker. Britt Baker, in my opinion, is slowly becoming one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling. She is going to be a star, period. She's going to be one of the reasons people tune in to watch AEW. Having her out there while this match is going on made Red Velvet and Jamie Hayter look worse by comparison, because Britt Baker was the only one getting any kind of a reaction and the only one that had any kind of a presence out there. And also, Britt Baker, for her side of it, deserved better than to be stuck outside at ringside during this match. She should have had an opportunity to get on the mic and put down Chris Statlander and have a little bit of her own airtime. So we've gone on for a long time about this match, but yeah, this was really not very well executed. This is getting a D- from me, unfortunately, and it's not the ladies' fault. It's, again, the way that the women's division is being positioned by the company.
Yeah. Coming up next was a backstage segment with the Dark Order. I don't know what's going on with these guys. They haven't really given them a whole lot over the last 5 weeks that we've watched this show. And I'm just thinking to myself, split them up already, man. I think it's time. I don't know what's going to become of these guys if they do split them, but I just feel like there's no point to them anymore. They're not having an impact on the show. They're not having an impact in any of the title divisions that they've got in the company. They already lost their tag title kind of opportunity and all that stuff. Hangman's out of there. I just think it's time. I just don't think that they're a necessary entity on the show anymore. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, look, I mean, the fact that this may be okay. No, hang on. Let me back up here for a sec. Why the fuck is Evil Uno speaking on behalf of this group?
Shouldn't be Colt Cabana, mate.
But, hang on, man. Hang on. Why is he sitting there wearing a suit jacket? Why is he positioned in the middle of the rest of the group as if he's some kind of a leader? Whose idea was it to make this guy the de facto leader of the Dark Order, since they really have no leader right now? Whose idea was that? That's go away. Like, that's fucking piss break material for me. And the guy didn't sound imposing or intimidating or gruff or like Brody Lee when he was the leader of the Dark Order, man. He had a presence, man. He would sort of stand in the room and his presence would loom over everybody else. And it looked like you were actually, there was this weird tension in the segments where you felt like Brody Lee could randomly turn around and beat one of them half to death at any moment. And he really was the master and commander of that group. They don't have a leader right now. Evil Uno is not that fucking leader. This was ridiculous. He didn't have the right voice for it. He didn't have the right presence for it. The mask and the suit combination looked fucking ridiculous. If anything, I was more drawn to John Silver and the other guy, Alex Reynolds, was it, than I was to anything Evil Uno was saying. Evil Uno makes some ridiculous remarks that even in kayfabe are stupid because they referred to John Silver and stuff like that, and he's way better than Evil Uno. This whole thing was just a disaster of a segment. The sooner that the Dark Order split up, the better. The fact that this may be an indication that they are splitting up is the most noteworthy thing that's happened to them in weeks. And the last time that they were anything resembling relevant was when Adam Page was associated with him, which he now has not been for several weeks. So this sucked. F. This is a hard F.
All right, DJ. The next segment on the show is a great segment. CM Punk comes out to talk to Tony Schiavone, and we both remarked how excited we were. Just it's so weird to see CM Punk and Tony in the ring together. It's like these two eras of wrestling that you never thought would ever connect, but it happened. So I really love seeing Punk and Tony talking to one another. And before I let you take it away, bro, there was a line that JR said that you loved, and he said, "I love pro wrestling for moments like this." I thought that was a great line from him. But DJ, what did you think of the promo?
Yeah, so just on that JR thing, that is the kind of commentary that's missing from all of professional wrestling, where the commentator is living in the moment and knows that we're in the moment with them, and so says something that encapsulates the way that we're all feeling. And so great call by JR. Again, great reaction for CM Punk coming out. The guy looked like he was $1 million. He looked as happy as $1 million. You know, he just had a smile on his face. Great promo. Again, this got me even more excited for the match with him and Darby Allin. It really came across like he's excited to be there in AEW and that he's not just doing this for a paycheck, and that this is, you know, a new era of his career that he's excited to embark upon. Great promo from Punk. A- on the promo. Tony Schiavone looked like he was having the time of his life. It's really always so fun to see Tony Schiavone have such a renewed, invigorated interest in wrestling, because it's so different from the wrestling business that he left 20 years ago. So yeah, this was an all-round winner for me, possibly my favorite moment on the show.
Excellent, bro. Yeah, I really loved when Punk brought up that he is no longer the voice of the voiceless, because there's actually people backstage that listen to you. I thought that was a really great line, and it makes so much sense, you know, seeing how things are going with the company at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of felt like to myself, man, the fans are being fucking irritating tonight. Like, you know, there was a point where Tony said, you know, what made you want to come back? And Punk just stopped to listen. And you knew what he was given the cue for. He was trying to give the cue for the CM Punk chants. And some dickheads started chanting ice cream bars. I don't know. Just sometimes the fans can just really kind of drag something that's supposed to be special because they just won't stop with that bullshit. They're incessant.
Here's the thing. The reason why it's problematic is not because we're fun police and people aren't allowed to have fun.
Yeah.
It's because it's not fun to be distracted as a viewer by some audience members' attempt to be funny and get a pop for themselves when you're trying to be immersed and enjoy this moment. You know?
Yeah,
I
do agree.
The crowd is a part of the show, especially for the viewing audience watching at home, and the crowd can sometimes make the difference in how a segment or a moment comes across.
That's it, bro. And I loved at one stage there was a yes chant, and this goes to show how professional and good Punk is at what he does, because he was able to ad-lib the moment, and it got a really great pop where he said, you know, that's someone else's shtick, but just be a little patient for that, you know. And obviously we're getting a nice little hint there about Daniel Bryan coming in very soon. And I finished off my thoughts by just writing, it's just great having some people who cut really good promos. You know, we had it with MJF earlier. Jericho did a good job as well. And now Punk comes out and does this. You have Malakai Black earlier. So it's good that the art of the promo is, you know, really getting its spotlight in AEW. Whereas I kind of feel like a while back, things like this and characters and stuff weren't as prominent as there were, you know, gymnastic style matches. But anyway, moving on again, Miro with another little promo. This is kind of like how I've been going on about the Taz story with Cage and Starks. It's like, okay, like we know that there's something coming with him in Kingston, but like it's been like several weeks now where Miro's just done one of these pre-tape promos. What did you think, man?
Look, yeah, I actually thought this was a great promo. I thought that this expanded a bit more on this whole God's chosen champion, Redeemer character. And yeah, look, not much to say about it, man. I loved it, frankly. I think this is exactly where they need to go with Miro.
Yeah, he's finally, again, it's like Malakai, finally getting utilized in a way that makes so much more sense than what WWE were doing.
Which the fans already saw that this is how these people should be used. You know?
That's it. Yeah. Next up, we get a surprise to us. We didn't know that this was coming, but Darby, Moxley, and Kingston take on the Wingmen, which is JD Drake, Baby Dolph, and Caesar. Can't remember.
Bononi.
Yeah. Bononi.
Accompanied by Peter Avalon.
Yeah. And yeah, I just want to again reiterate, anyone out there, if you want to talk to Ryan Nemeth on Twitter, call him Baby Dolph. He hates it. Okay, so this was what it was. We knew a foregone conclusion. We knew what was going to happen here. But again, in this instance, I'm not so offended by it, because on some of the other matches on the show, you weren't sure who was going to win what. Whereas like that episode we watched a few weeks ago with Gallows and Anderson against the Dark Order, we knew who was going to win pretty much every match on that show, which is why we didn't like that show very much at all. So this is fine in this instance. Get Sting out there, get Moxley out there, Kingston, Darby, get him a nice win. Gonna bring it on to talk about Applebee's Grill and Bar, DJ. Do you think that looks like a fun time?
It does look like a fun time, Carl. It does.
Yeah. They had the beers, you know, they had the steaks. I'd like to go to an Applebee's and
Very tasty.
here in Australia, geez, in comparison, they have so many more options of where to go to eat. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
I also wrote Ryan Nemeth sucks. I don't know what it was that he did, but it must have been something during the match that made me think, like, I don't know, something about him irritates me. They get the win. The babyfaces get the win. Danny Garcia comes out to attack Darby Allin after the match, which was surprising. Not offended by it. It's spontaneous. It's surprising. Okay, cool. I'm sure whether it's next week or the following Rampage, I'm sure that this is what's going to lead to a match between the two. And that's fine. At least there's going to be pretense toward a match that's happening down the line. DJ, thoughts on the match?
Yeah, look, I thought this match was was pretty good. I thought that it was a good showcase for Darby, Jon Moxley, and Eddie Kingston. I really liked the fact that Garcia made the attack afterwards. I think it's great that they're doing something with him because he is a real wrestling heavy, technical type guy. And I think we need more of them in prominent positions in the big companies. So I'm happy to see that. The only gripe I'd really have is that, I just think that Kingston needs to have a couple of singles matches. I really feel like he just needs some more singles wins under his belt. He's sort of getting to be coming across as Moxley's sidekick a little bit.
Yeah, good call, man. Good call.
And I think that he deserves better than that. I would like to see him, especially if he's going to have a program with Miro, I'd like to see him rack up a couple more singles wins by himself. But other than that, B+. Great match. And nothing offensive here.
Great point you made there, bro. Okay, we've seen a few six-man tags with these guys now. We get it. Cool. I think now with Moxley going to face Kojima, Darby with Punk, Kingston's obviously headed towards a TNT title match with Miro. Let's split the three away from each other just until this pay-per-view that comes up. And let's really establish Eddie Kingston as a singles wrestler and a threat to the championship before we get there. So at least there might be a seed of doubt in our mind that maybe Eddie Kingston might beat Miro for the championship. Moving forward, Tay Conti has an interview, which obviously had me very excited. Unfortunately, she didn't get to say anything as she was interrupted by the bunny, which wasn't unfortunate. Great to see both ladies on the show.
Very pleasant interruption.
Yeah, so it's fine. It was fine. But, I really like Tay Conti's voice and accent, so I really wanted to hear her talk. But anyway, the bunny offers her a chance to join the Hardy family office, rips up the contract. The bunny ends up slapping Tay Conti in the face, and it tickles me, man, because it's like every time there's a fight between two of the girls who are so tiny, fucking 10 referees come running in like, oh no, we can't have the girls have a fight. But then other things take place and they're nowhere to be seen. It's like a 6-on-2 beatdown. They're nowhere to be seen. But we did mention it also, DJ, that it seems like they're starting to tighten up a little bit with the referees, especially on this episode. So what did you think, man?
Yeah, I loved this promo backstage with Tay Conti and the bunny. They ended up having a little bit of a scuffle, a little bit of a cat fight, as Joey Styles would have described it. Very pleasant little segment, and it actually put a little bit of heat on something within the women's division, which I liked. It's something that's a little bit interesting to draw your attention towards the women's division, and so for that reason, I think this was very effective, as well as just being not bad to look at all.
Yeah, and I think they really need to have people give a shit about this casino battle royale at All Out, because the last two that I've seen, I hated both of them. And I want to see whoever wins this battle royale. I want to see that they look like a legitimate threat when they do get that title shot, because you knew ahead of time with the winners of the tag one and Jungle Boy, you knew that they weren't going to win the titles because the people that they were facing, there's no way that was going to happen. So again, the foregone conclusions. I hope someone comes out of this looking like a real threat, and I think Tay Conti might be the right girl for that. But yeah, I want to see more of this for the weeks leading up to it, with all the ladies on the roster having issues with one another, getting into fights to make this like, okay, like now this thing is really boiling and it's going to explode with this matchup. And I want them all to have an issue with one another. I think that's the route that they need to go down.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting away from this, FTR with a promo. We see like a real close-up of what actually happened with the arm injury a few weeks ago, and it was really quite confronting, graphic, but I like that they did that. What did you think, man?
Yeah, look, I said to you as we were watching it that it's never pleasant when a wrestler gets injured, and I really hope that Cash Wheeler is comes out of this okay. However, the silver lining with the injury is that it adds even more credibility to FTR as being tough, old school badasses. They are using this injury as kind of fuel to fire their promos, where they're kind of discussing like, look, this is affecting our livelihoods. We don't know what this is going to mean for our team. This injury could very well be career threatening. But, we're FTR. We have to have this match. We can't just leave this thing unfinished. And I feel like FTR is really working for me the way that I'd always hoped that they would work out in WWE. I really want that tough, no-nonsense team that can eventually, I hope, start molding and shaping the teams that they work with. And because a team like FTR is a team that can shepherd and lead your entire tag division for years to come. Hopefully, as I said, Cash Wheeler comes out of this injury okay, and he's able to recover and not have anything be affected too much. But I really love this. I'm also going to give this segment an A-. This was a brilliant little promo, and I'm really invested in FTR.
Yeah. Next segment, another in-ring kind of confrontation, but one that I did enjoy. I want to say from the outset, loved Don Callis' suit. See, when it comes to dressing in a way that is going to get really good heat, this is how you do it. Not with what the Young Bucks wore a few weeks ago, like and Kenny Omega in like cut off jeans and stuff. I kind of feel like that's just lame. But this is kind of it's hokey, but a good kind of hokey. So I wanted to give a shout out for his suit. Again, I kind of felt like at the beginning, Omega doesn't feel like a world champion. I just think he needs to dress a little bit better, dress a little bit more like he's a star.
Like Nick Aldis, man. Nick Aldis dresses like a fucking champion, man.
Yeah, they got to think of something when it comes to his wardrobe, just to improve it a little bit. Christian obviously interrupts quite soon into this. It seems like there's a common theme in AEW. There's an interruption after just a couple of sentences. It's not offensive, but we've seen that at least 5 or 6 times over the last 5 weeks. So I don't know. They need to start thinking of different scenarios as far as I'm concerned. Christian was funny. It was good to see some old footage of the match that he had with Lance Storm many years ago, and he ended up getting fired. So look, okay, cool. We're getting a story behind all of this.
Yeah.
And I will say, finally, for the first time, Kenny Omega did something that made me laugh. When Christian was talking some shit about him and he started saying, oh, you think you know me? You think you know me? Like, that was really good. And I have a feeling that was probably something Christian might have come up with, because it just feels like it's his sense of humor. He would have been like, you should say this. Just putting that out there. I don't know. I'm not trying to take credit away from Kenny, but it was actually funny. And then it was followed up with Callis getting really worked up and saying, hold my scarf. So stupid. Loved it though. Awesome. This is the perfect way to really, I guess, showcase the heels here. In the previous few weeks, I have not been very impressed with some of the antics, but this one was good. Christian gets attacked. They're getting some heat. It's not bad. Kaz comes out again, but it's been like 2 months now. So like this angle with Kaz really does need to go somewhere at some point. There we go. I've laid all that out there for you, DJ. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you covered a lot there, but
Sorry.
yeah, look, I really enjoyed this segment as well. I tend to agree with you about Kenny Omega's wardrobe. Right. The crucial thing here, and I hope Kenny Omega can take away from his work in this segment something to lead into the future with his other segments and promos. Okay. This attempt at comedy was successful and it was funny because it was comedic in the context of these guys being complete fucking assholes to their upcoming opponent. The other stuff that they've been doing has just been assholes who think they're funny and aren't. Yeah. And they're clearly doing these attempts at comedy for the sake of attempting to be funny, not in service of building their angle or their program. That's why this was funny in this segment, and that's why this segment was so effective, because the comedy had an undercurrent of tension to it. It had an undercurrent of like, oh, okay, we're telling jokes, and this is giving the audience a chuckle, especially for the ones that know all the inside information. But this can go too far at any time and explode into physicality, which it eventually does. That is why it was effective, because it also built tension while being funny at the same time.
Yeah.
I pretty much echo the rest of your sentiments about this promo. I thought it was really good. Again, Christian remains one of the highlights of this company for me. I liked the fact that they kind of dropped some references that made the crowd go, ooh, but it wasn't done in a cringy or a cheap way. They didn't really go out of their way to denigrate the WWE. They didn't go out of their way to kind of put somebody else down just so that they could get a Savage reference in there. Everything that they said was in service of building the angle between Christian Cage and Kenny Omega. And for that reason, I'm giving this whole thing a C-. This was good. Probably even, C+. You know, I enjoyed this quite a bit.
Excellent, bro. And you know what? Like, I kind of want to see Don Callis versus Christian on an episode of Dynamite. Come up with something. Yep. Don looks like he can still handle himself a little bit. I mean, he is a manager, but he did used to be a wrestler. Man, I would definitely tune in to see Christian versus Don Callis, even if it ends in some sort of like screw job where Callis actually manages to beat him, because that would just build so much heat. But anyway,
like I'd love to see, like if Christian can beat Brandon Cutler and Nakazawa in a handicap match, he gets 10 minutes in the ring with Don Callis.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay. Next promo, backstage. Jon Moxley again, talking about, obviously he wanted Tanahashi. It's not happening, but he's facing Satoshi Kojima at All Out. I think Kojima's awesome. I remember him from MLW many years ago, the original MLW. I guess this is what Moxley wants to do right now. He wants to have some matches with some Japanese talent. What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, I got no problem with it. Once again, this is kind of similar to the Pac versus Andrade El Idolo match, in that I'm sure it's going to be an entertaining match, but it doesn't have much heat on it for me. And I don't know if that's just me, but I don't think that this is doing much for me, other than I'm sure the match will be excellent in ring.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And like Kojima's like right at the end of his career here. So I guess it's kind of nice for a guy that's worked his ass off for so many years to at least get a highlighted spot on a pay-per-view in the United States. I just think that's something that's kind of cool. But anyway, moving forward, the Gun Club versus the Factory. Take it away, bro.
Yeah, so look, I mean, I love the Gun Club. It's special being able to see Billy Gunn as a father perform in the ring with his sons. I like that. You can tell he has a ball doing it. His sons are fantastic athletes, and they remind me so much of their father, the way that they move in the ring, whether it be the way that they sprawl down into a cover, or whether it be the way they throw a clothesline or a drop kick. You can just each one of Billy Gunn's sons, Colt and Austin Gunn, have each got different aspects of what made Billy Gunn great. And they really have been taught how to accentuate those strengths and hide their weaknesses really well. They looked great. Billy Gunn looked great. Yeah, look, I'm sorry. Who were the opponents again? Because I know there was two trios.
It was the factory.
Of course, right. Of course. Yeah, I was getting a little bit muddled up with the previous trios match. I thought the factory looked okay. I thought QT Marshall managed to showcase a little bit of his athleticism and a little bit of what he can actually do in the ring, which they clearly need to do to build up for his match against Paul White at All Out. I want to also get to it as well. So the match was technically pretty proficient. I'd probably give it a C minus. But my favorite part of the whole thing was so Paul White was on commentary for this match. I'm already laughing just thinking about it. So a lot of longtime wrestling fans would know that one of the best things about Big Show and about being a Big Show fan is that he often has these little moments of comedy gold, whether it be an expression he makes or something he does physically or tripping over something or just moments like that that are really hilarious. And he had one such moment here. QT Marshall was laying beating down on his opponent in the ring. He kind of kept up. It was pretty impressive. He looked over at Paul White, who was at the commentary desk. The camera cuts to Paul White at the commentary table. And he goes, hey, don't look over at me, boy. Don't look over at me, son. And then he starts going, throws the headset down. And you hear the headset kind of bang around as he throws it down. And then he pretty much trips over himself, getting up from the table to go and stare down QT Marshall. That distraction, of course, causes QT to get rolled up. And so it was a nice little win for the Gun Club, in addition to building up more of this Paul White QT Marshall angle for this match we're going to see at the pay-per-view. And I enjoyed it.
Excellent, bro. Yeah, it was just so great because he got so worked up so quickly over barely anything.
He was like, don't look at me, bro. You son of a...
he didn't give QT any leeway at all to fuck around.
All he did was look at it.
Okay, that's once. It. Slammed it down. It was great. And you know what? It was nice because I was like, oh, well, the factory are going to win this. It was nice to see the Gun Club get the win. And it's nice to see something kind of spontaneous happen where you weren't expecting it. So I was happy to see them get the win. Now, I have to be honest with you, man. I haven't been a QT Marshall fan, but he's kind of growing on me a little bit.
Me too, man. Who would have thought that actually giving talents an opportunity to develop themselves and find their own flavor would actually help improve them?
Yeah. Wow. He's a bit of a slime ball. There's something just
he's got kind of like a used car salesman type of a vibe. He's the kind of guy that's a high roller at a casino, but you never really know where he gets his money from. That kind of character.
He's like somebody who's like a state champion 10-pin bowling player, and he's really arrogant about the fact that he's like this big star of something that no one gives a shit about, kind of thing. I don't know. It's just he's got this arrogance about him that has not been
sort of unearned entitlement.
Unearned. Yeah, that's what I like about it, because we all know what's going to happen at the pay-per-view. He's going to get fucking choke slammed.
You're going down. You're going for a ride, son. That's what's happening. Well.
Okay, we'll get to the tail end here, bro.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting this guy's first name. Lambert. What's his first name? Dan Lambert. Right. He cuts my favorite promo in the wrestling business right now, without a doubt. He's now siding with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Love this. Love him bringing up safe spaces and things like that. You know, love that he was bringing up these kind of like cancel culture things last week. I think it's important to bring stuff up like this in the show and to have somebody that is the complete opposite of you know, because you know what it can be like with AEW fans. They just want everyone on the show to be someone that they like, and you know, having someone out there that's actually saying all these things that they definitely don't want to hear. It's important to have a heel like that on their show. And I was kind of thinking throughout all this, because obviously this is going to lead somewhere. If you're ever going to bring back Max Caster, you put him with Lambert, because everyone all those fans turned on him. I can't fathom a way that he would ever be able to come back and be on television for that company after the fact that they kind of, you know.
Let's not even open that up, man.
I don't want to open it up. But I'm just saying they kicked him to the curb. Okay, they threw all the heat on him when it wasn't really his fault. No one complained for 5 days after it was recorded. No one in the arena, no one who was in the ring. No one said anything until it aired, and all the fans, you know, cut the shits over it. If you're ever going to bring him back and slide him in so that it's at least a comfortable way to bring him back where everyone's not going to be like, I can't believe you brought this guy back after what he said. Put it with Lambert. I think that's the only way you can do it. But anyway, what do you think of Dan Lambert, bro?
Well, yeah, I mean, he said a few things. Here's the beauty of what he's saying, right? Because for the fans that agree with Dan Lambert, they now feel like they're being represented on AEW TV. And for the fans that don't agree with Dan Lambert, this is actually something that's going to draw Dan Lambert some genuine heat and, as you said, make people dislike him. I don't believe truly that Dan, you know, like I believe that Dan Lambert probably feels the way that he says he feels in these promos. These promos feel like they're coming from a genuine place. And that's not to say that Dan Lambert is like homophobic or sexist or, you know, lacks any of the progressive things about today's society that we enjoy, right? But in the context of the wrestling product, he is really tapping into that kind of conservative kind of mindset where it's kind of it's addressing those people that feel like, oh, I don't know what I'm allowed to say anymore. I don't know from one day to the next what words are acceptable. I don't know what happened to professional wrestling. It used to be taken seriously. They didn't used to employ people in the business that didn't have any size and that looked the same as me. They used to employ people that looked impressive. All these different things are being touched on by Dan Lambert, either directly or indirectly in these promos that he cuts. He's kind of touching on the legitimacy of mixed martial arts as compared to pro wrestling, especially as compared to AEW specifically. He's mentioned that Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page had a background in legitimate martial arts before becoming professional wrestlers. He's touching on cancel culture and safe spaces and the concept of everything always having to be this huggable rainbow all the time.
Yeah.
And he's kind of pushing those buttons that says, no, you know what? You're always entitled to your opinion and your feelings, but I don't have to agree with your opinion and your feelings. And I don't have to change what I'm going to say and what I think to suit you so that you don't get upset. I'm here and I have as much of a right to be here as anyone else. And if you don't like my opinions and you don't like my views, I dare you to send someone to represent you that's going to take on the people that I'm representing. And that was kind of the entire vibe that he very effectively got over in what was really only a 1 or 2 minute promo here. This was an A+ promo. This guy is absolutely one of the best promos in the entire business period right now. And it has been an absolute pleasure to see him as part of the show for the last few weeks.
Yeah, a real heel, bro. Right near the end of the show here, bro, Arn Anderson gets a chance to cut another promo outside of his son's locker room, which is comical to me that Brock Anderson would have his own locker room at this stage of his career.
Yeah.
He's only
After
had
six
matches.
professional matches.
Such bullshit, but I'll let it slide aside because I kind of find it funny. But
yeah, it's just
what did you think, bro?
Yeah, well, you know, I actually really enjoyed this segment as well. I mean, this whole show, really, I've probably enjoyed more of it than not. But so they built this up last week. They kind of made it clear that everyone except Brock was fully aware of how bad of an idea this was for Brock to accept this match. Arn cuts an impassioned little promo saying that, you know what, I don't think my son's going to win this match, but I stand behind him no matter what because he's my son and I love him. Great little promo. Malakai comes out. Brock comes out. Brock looks like a 45-year-old man already, just like his dad did. The Andersons just are born looking like 45-year-old men straight out of the womb. So that was, I love the fact that the kid looks like an Anderson and that he has those rugged Anderson features and he's sort of starting to lose his hair already. And, you know, like, and he doesn't have that $1 million physique. He just looks like he's an old school wrestler. So I really liked that. This match basically worked out exactly as it should have. It was pretty much a complete squash. Brock Anderson got a double leg takedown and some ineffective punches in at the start. That kind of matches up to his level of experience and the level of anger that he would be feeling going into a match like this, the emotion of a young guy who's seen his dad get his head kicked in. So yeah, psychologically, storyline speak wise, this was executed really well. Malakai Black very quickly kicked the fuck out of him, kicked his head off with the black mass kick. And that was all she wrote. Arn Anderson eventually got into the ring to tend to his son. He got up in Malakai Black's face. The tension built. Here's the thing. Again, I've talked about tension a few times in this review in a positive way. We've seen that Malakai Black is willing to kick Arn Anderson in the head before. That precipitated this whole issue between Malakai and Brock Anderson in the first place. But because the audience has already seen, hey, Malakai Black will actually kick this 65-year-old man's head off, it is tense when Arn Anderson and Malakai Black face off. Arn Anderson's now doing what any father would do. Doesn't matter how old you are. He's going to stand up for his son and try to protect his son. Malakai, and this was another great little bit of credibility added to Arn Anderson as a legend in this profession. Malakai throws that black mass kick again, which Arn's been hit with before. Arn blocks the kick, showing, hey, you know, I'm a smart guy. I'm cunning. I've learned a few things, and now I've blocked that kick that you've had as your main weapon in your arsenal. So now he's still facing off, bowling up against Malakai Black, and in an ultimate heel moment that got an audible yell from me, Malakai Black, even though he didn't have to do this, kicks Arn Anderson in the nuts, knocking Arn Anderson to the mat. Malakai Black had the advantage over Arn Anderson before that, well before that. But he still chose to kick this poor old guy in his balls just because he's a fucking asshole. And then after he kicked him in the balls, he hits 65-year-old Arn Anderson with another black mass, knocks him the fuck out. This is genuine heel heat. This again is going to get a B+ from me. This was a great segment, exactly what they needed to do. Brock Anderson, though, needs to go back to preliminary matches, keep building his skills. Don't try to push him too fast. You know, let him grow and develop. You've given him a foundation now to start off his career with. You've given him something prominent now. But now don't overdo it. Let him go back to being a middle, lower card guy. Let him develop on his own, and let's see Malakai move on, continuing on in some feud with the Legends or whatever he has developing right now with the Nightmare family.
Yep. Excellent, bro. Yep. Brock Anderson is a 20-year-old, 40-year-old man. So, and, you know, I agree with everything that you had to say. Love seeing him wipe both Brock and Double A out. The only issue I had, look, everything was great. It was all great. It was all great. The only issue I had was, you know, it looked like we're about to sign off the end of the show. and there must have been a production problem or something, because Malakai, it looks like he's about to be getting out the ring. Someone's theme song hits. There's no shot of the entranceway.
See, I forgot about this because
the commentators didn't even say anything until he had come out. No one had noticed that there was a change in the theme song. I noticed it, but no one said anything. No one reacted. And it was Lee Johnson.
Wow.
It was Lee Johnson. Like, I'm sorry, nothing against the guy, but he comes out and Malakai leaves the ring. This should have been exactly what happened, like when Cody wasn't really paying attention. He gets kicked in the head. This should have been like when Cody was trying to retire and Malakai had already left, but then he comes back in and he didn't expect it. Lee Johnson should have gotten the ring, tended to Arn, and then Black should have come back in again. Fucking kick the shit out of him. Imagine seeing 3 bodies laying in the ring there. And then, you know what? Fuck it. Just for the fuck of it, have him do it to the referee as well. I don't care.
Yeah.
Imagine all these
just
bodies.
Have him be a complete asshole.
Yeah,
but
imagine that visual to end the show, DJ. That visual of him there with 4 bodies laying there. I think that would have been better than him walking up the ramp and Lee Johnson looking back at him. Like, we know Lee's not going to be beating him anytime soon. So just a weird way to sign off the show.
Like, here's my problem. Here's my problem with this Lee Johnson run in here. I have several little problems with it, actually, so I'm glad you remembered it because, I do have some issues with it. So, number one, I felt like it was totally unnecessary given the impact of the segment that we just saw between Malakai Black and the Andersons. Number two, what makes them think anyone buys Lee Johnson as anywhere near being a credible threat to Malakai Black?
Yeah.
Why didn't they hang? I think you're gonna agree with this, Carl. Why didn't Sting come out here? Why didn't Sting come out here and do this?
We don't want to cross over angles, bro. But
okay, maybe
then everyone's going to be like, "Oh, Sting versus Malakai."
Okay, but maybe that would be better than this. It would at least be someone that would be more credible as a threat to Malakai.
But then we'll get angry if they don't follow up on it the next week. You know what I mean?
Because I
don't mean to nitpick, bro.
I know. All right, fair enough. Maybe not Sting, but no one expects Lee Johnson to have a chance against Malakai.
It should have been security, bro. They should have sent out 20 security guards or referees or whatever to get him away.
There's no reason why Malakai had to leave the ring. Was in no danger from Leeds. So that was just kind of a bit silly and sort of undermined the impact a little bit of that great segment that we saw just before. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got.
No worries, bro. Well, okay, we get to the final part here of the review, bro. Gonna have to ask you for your rating out of 10.
I give this an 8 out of 10. This was a very good show. I enjoyed more of it than I did not, and I hope that it continues in this direction.
Yep, and I will echo those sentiments. 8 out of 10. I think this is probably the best edition of Dynamite I think I've seen in the 5 weeks we've done this. I think it was episode 2 or 3, which I did not like, but this one I did like. So 8 out of 10, and excited to see how things go next week. It looks like there are a bunch of matches on next week's show where there's no foregone conclusions coming our way. So good to have that coming our way next week. DJ, Juicy Boy, again, please let everyone out there know where to find you.
All right. So all my social media and platforms, I go by Juicy Boy, JOOSEYBOY, Juicy Boy. You can follow me at twitch.tv/Juicy Boy. Subscribe to me on YouTube at Juicy Boy. Follow me on Twitter at Juicy Boy. And of course, you can always catch me each and every week with the WZWA Network.
Yeah, and I'm Karlifornia. You find me at Twitter at Karlifornia WZWA. That's KARLIFORNIA WZWA. You can find our YouTube channel, which you're on right now. So this is stupid, but
Like you're on
YouTube.com
like
/WZWA Network. What's wrong with you, bro? And of course, you can find us on Twitch TV, twitch.tv /WZWA Network. We'll be streaming quite a lot in the coming weeks. So please keep an eye out for that. We might be playing a little bit of WWE Crush Hour soon. Might be playing a bit of SmackDown too, a bit of WCW Revenge, a bit of Fire Pro, and maybe some other surprises. So again, DJ, thank you for your time, bro.
Yeah, thank you as always for another entertaining episode of Dynamite, which we shared together as good friends. So thank you.
No worries, bro. And thank you everyone out there for watching the AEW Dynamite review here on the WZWA Network. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
See you down the road.
See you guys.